is being stunting your career growth. So if you are a woman in leadership, and especially at this time where performance reviews, your annual performance reviews are coming up, this is going to be a really great video for you today, because we're going to talk about why that need to be modest, or maybe you call it as being honest about your own achievements and reflections and your results, that is actually stunting your career growth. So if you are the type of leader, you're the woman who really wants to progress into that next leadership role within the next 3 to 6 months, or you're just wanting to have your leadership identify you and signal you like, hey, this is a fantastic talent that we have here, and that you want to have that seat at the table where you can make those strategic decisions and really show your leadership capabilities, then this is a video for you today. So let's dive into this, because when we look at modesty, and the question around is being modest or being too modest stunting your career growth, listen, I get it. I grew up where you didn't want to overshadow somebody else, or you've had that experience where you did really, really well on a test or an exam, and then somebody else shut you down because you were sharing your amazing achievement, and you learn from that, like, okay, I don't want to, I don't want to hurt somebody else or offend somebody, or, if someone's having a difficult time, that means that I can't share my achievements or results. Well, that translates into this outcome where you find yourself being made smaller. So when it comes to your annual performance reviews, guess what happens? You're likely finding yourself discounting your achievements or results, or even going, I can't even remember what we needed to do. Think about it this way. As we look at, for example, any of the Olympic champions, now I know it's sport, but stick with me here. When you look at the Olympic champions, they don't hide their medals. They're very proud of the achievement they have achieved, because they have put in the work, they've put in the sweat, they put in the sweat equity, I was going to say, or and the time to generate and the commitment, the dedication to achieve those results. Well, similarly to you have done all of that as well, except you've leaned back, possibly thinking, well, other people will see the great results that I have. I don't need to share my results. And you know what? I don't want to oversell it, because I don't want to come across as arrogant or as a know-it-all. All reasons or thoughts that you might be experiencing as to why, I'm going to dim down or tone down the results and the achievements, and just like me, as I have got a client who says, if you do, it's direct translation, I'll be honest, but if you're normal, that's crazy enough. So let's not go and be more extravagant with it. Well, if that is your attitude, guess what happens to your own chances of promotion? Oftentimes, they're also going to be very modest. Why? Because if we were to look at some of the amazing women leaders that are out there, so for example, think about Sarah Blakely. I always love using Sarah Blakely as an example. She had an amazing product, which was Spanx, and she promoted it everywhere. Now, what if she'd taken that attitude of like, well, you know what, guess what? People will figure it out if it works great for them or not. They probably would not have made a lot of sales. But as she grew and grew, those sales continue to grow as well, because you continue to promote it. Now, that is the sales of a product. The similar thing is absolutely true for you and yourself when it comes to your career and the opportunities that come across your path, because you want to be top of mind for everyone, and especially the key decision makers, of your abilities and your results. So this time around, if you're going into your performance review in this month, I want you to own all of your achievements and results and be extremely proud of them. Share them across the spectrum. And how can you do this? Because let's be honest, sometimes you're like, ooh, I don't want to feel like I'm being braggadocious or like overshadowing other people. Or what I've also found a lot of times is, especially as women, we tend to shine the light onto our teams like, hey, you know what, this my team did a fantastic job. So you can be really effective and very good at promoting other people, but you're not owning your own piece of that. You're not owning the responsibility, the vision, and the task that you took on in order to achieve that result. Because even though your team might have done the legwork, you had to bring that all together. You were the one, that was your responsibility. So own that result. Don't just shed the light onto your team. Of course, great leaders also share that light and they shine it onto their teams, but take your spot in that spotlight as well and own the results and the achievements that you had. This is one of the reasons within the Leadership Accelerator why I have each of my clients maintain what I call an achievement radar. Now, this is a tool that they get access to within the program where they excuse me, getting so excited, I've lost for words, where they actually continuously put in what are their achievements and results, not just on the big things, because this is another mistake that I see a lot of women as well as people in general make, is we look to the big goals, the big ideal outcomes, and only when you've achieved that, so maybe it's your quarterly sales target, or maybe it is you finally reach that operational efficiency at the end of a quarter or at the end of 6 months. But you also put in the little achievements along the way that measure your progress. And guess what? When they have this at their fingertips, it makes it super easy to start being able to sprinkle throughout their conversations in a very natural way the achievements and the results that they have been generating. It also is a really great resource when it comes to that annual performance review because you have it at your fingertips. And so they have this massive resource for themselves, their own insight for each and every year as to all their accomplishments that they have. And we celebrate those because regardless of whether or not you've achieved your end ideal goal, you have always made progress along the way. So we celebrate all of that progress along the way as well as when you get to those big goals, you also have those achieved and you put those also in what I call that achievement radar tool. So, are you being too modest? Consider it this way. If you're asking yourself like, "Oh, well, you know what? Yes, I did generate a project that created over $1 million of revenue, but you know what? The team did a really great job on that, and all I did was just kind of, make sure that everyone did their tasks." Well, guess what? You're already negotiating for yourself, being more modest, and guess what you're doing? You're also making your own accomplishments and your value as a leader smaller in the eyes of other people. And that modesty, well, yes, a society in general, especially amongst women, we value being modest, being humble, right? This doesn't work in a leadership environment. It doesn't work when you want to grow your career into a new level, when you want to go from that manager to director role or from the director to the executive role. You need to be able to advocate both shining that light on your team. Yes, important. But more importantly, you need to be able to accept being in the spotlight and shining that light on your achievements and results and promoting those throughout the organization. Now, that might feel really unnatural for you and you think, oh, how do I promote that? Well, if you're curious on that, then I'd love to invite you to a complimentary leadership audit call where we can dive into this further. So if you are finding yourself that, hey, my modesty is getting in the way of my performance, getting in the way of moving into that next career step, then I want you to DM me audit and let's have a conversation on that. And we can look at what strategies you can implement today in order to achieve a better result or actually secure that promotion in the next 3 to 6 months. And here's the other side of this. I'm going to give you one more tidbit here. Because if you're being really modest about your results and your achievements, and especially as we're coming up to that performance review, don't forget that you're not only missing out on opportunities for promotion, you're also missing out on opportunities for growth in your salary. So you might find yourself under earning to your value because you have decided, it's better for me to be, just kind of wait to see if everyone else will recognize what I've done, or I want to, my boss has a fairly good idea of what my achievements are. So let's just see what they're at. You need to very strongly advocate for your own achievements as well as your next career opportunities and your salary. So again, are you being too modest and that is stunting your growth? Let's have a conversation. Let's have an audit call. Just drop me a DM with audit and I will share the details and look forward to having that conversation with you.